Hey, I'm Nate Flax.
I'm Noah Longworth McGuire.
And this is Talking Lion.
Talking Lion is a podcast focused on artist-to-artist conversation.
We're primarily artists, a duo called Sleeping Lion, but we've been lucky enough to write, produce, and hang out with so many incredible rising artists since we started our project.
Whether it's at sessions or parties or over cups of coffee, we've talked with our creative friends about everything. Music, life, love, and all the subtle complexities that come with being in the middle of a journey.
Talking Lion is about hitting record on these conversations and sharing them with you. There's no real structure, nothing really prepared, just friends talking about life and what it's been like and where it's going.
We recorded this episode with our new friend, JUJ.
We first met JUJ the day we recorded this episode and wound up writing with her the following day.
Some context for this interview. JUJ recently released her EP, JUJ It's You, which includes her single Mood, featuring Vic Mensa.
Inspiringly unstoppable, JUJ is writing songs straight from her heart with powerful messages. So,
Without further ado,
I'm JUJ, and this is Talking Lion.
well, hello.
Hey, what's up?
Thanks for coming by.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
I always love these sort of podcast episodes because we all kind of just met. Like
Yeah.
we were all just here. Though in a weird way, I feel like we've all known
each other
for a minute. Maybe it's like that East Coast.
Definitely.
Like, you know, we all know what good bagels taste like.
Right.
And,
The pizza. I feel like I vibe more with people on the East Coast. Even like after moving here, some of my closest friends are mostly people who were from the East Coast and then moved to California.
yeah, like that's pretty much been my experience. I don't know what it is, except for maybe it's just like a vibe or energy. Or,
Yeah.
I think it's like East Coast people have like a directness and like a
Exactly.
work ethic and a hustle that when they move here, once they like meet the LA like chill out vibe, and those people, like I feel like East Coast LA transplants find that nice intersection of
Yeah.
like hustle and just like good vibes, man. And then that's why they're like, you know, they get shit done out here, but they're also just like, let's just hang out and like
They won't like
have a good
sugarcoat
time.
anything.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, really
I feel
to
like
the
we also
point.
ruffle the feathers of like Midwesterners every once in a while.
Definitely.
You know, just a little bit. Just a little
No,
bit.
some people can get like offended, I feel like, but it's really just me being blunt and not sugarcoating because I was raised by a Latina mother in the East Coast. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
not
And
getting around that.
Jewish mother, so like she will insult you to your face,
Yeah.
but then like
No hard
you know,
feelings,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, this is just how you are, honey. You know,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to live with that your whole life. Yeah, you know, just New York Jews. So you are from the East Coast.
Yes.
Where were you born?
So I was born in Philly.
Philly.
And then after Philly, went back to Brazil for a little, where my mom's from, just for a few months. I have dual citizenship there.
Oh wow.
I was baptized in Brazil and in the United States. Then when we moved back to the States, we moved to Chicago for my dad's job, and my two siblings were born there.
Where in Chicago are you living?
Winnetka.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's actually where Vic's from too, Chicago as well.
Did you guys
Yeah,
ever?
friends.
I mean,
No,
that's
no.
just a coincidence.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, we only met when I moved to LA. But then I moved back to Philly after Chicago, and that's where I spent the majority of my childhood. Then when I got a bit older, I spent some time in New York with some cousins that lived there and such. But no, I would really say that I was raised in Philly.
Now, was your family musical as well? Did they kind of give you the bug, or who first gave you that like, oh, I gotta make some songs, you know?
No one can really like sing, not even in the shower. Everyone really does not sound good. But my mom actually moved to America when she was 18 in the hopes of being a dancer. But she moved with like literally nothing. She moved with $100 in her pocket, worked as an au pair and 5 other jobs. And one of the jobs is where she met my dad. My mom was a waitress at Chili's. My dad was a bartender. And so just with like the means of survival, she didn't really get to, because living in New York at that time was super expensive. It still is.
Yeah.
So she ended up just living with the au pair family in Philly. So she never really got to pursue her dream. But I would say like artistically, I got it from her because she loves to dance and she loves music. So I grew up with like Brazilian music in the house and I went to my first concert. I begged my parents for my birthday when I was like 5 or 6 to take me to Josh Groban. There's this like home video of me like screaming Josh Groban, but
Nice.
I dressed up in my like princess costume and all that. But yeah, my mom, I would say.
Well, you hear some of that influence in your music. You hear a little bit of the Brazilian, a little bit of the soul.
Sick.
And you were showing us Barricades like earlier, and just like the big gospel.
Yeah.
You know, choir that went about there. And I think it's cool to see all these influences. Do you also dance? Is that something that you picked up from your mom?
Well, I grew up doing theater. That's like probably one of
cool.
my main loves. Yeah, I was in the East Coast pursuing that.
We're recovering theater kids, so
No way,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
You have no. I'm the
definitely.
biggest theater geek.
Let's geek out. I mean,
My dog's name is Eponine. I'm not joking.
No
I have
shit.
a dog named
Hey.
Eponine. I'm not kidding.
that doesn't fare well for the dog, you know.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
just,
I mean,
yeah.
A heart full of love. Yeah.
Yeah.
No cap.
Your
But
dog
also-
will die
also
tragically.
Eponine
Yeah.
is totally a puppy dog.
That's
Just
my-
the
yeah.
entire vibe.
Yeah.
I call
She
her
re-
Panine. So yeah.
I love how like Marius is just like a genuinely a dick throughout the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
thing to her. Like he'll just like twist the knife. Just like in
He's
ways.
the worst.
Yeah.
He's
I
the
love that
worst.
one thing where she's like she's singing and then he's singing a heart full of love over here. And just like I love even just in the movie how they staged it so he's just like oblivious
Yeah,
to
yeah.
So
it.
oblivious.
It's just, but it's like almost mean. It's just
Yeah.
I love Les Mis. That's my dream role, Eponine.
Really?
Yeah, I was in Les Mis once, but you have no idea. That is my favorite show. Like my room, like I geek out Les Mis everywhere. And I just rescued a dog in California a couple months ago, and her name's Eponine. Yeah.
That's awesome. What other musicals? What was the first musical you ever saw?
Saw Beauty and the Beast. Yeah.
That
That's a fun
mine was
one.
Lion King.
Lion King.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then what's your favorite other than Les Mis?
Musical.
Yeah.
Maybe Bonnie and Clyde. That's definitely
Ooh.
up there on like dream roles for me. Bonnie.
I see that's over my head. I haven't
You haven't seen Bonnie
I haven't
and
seen
Clyde?
Bonnie and Clyde.
The
yeah.
music's the score is really good. Also, I definitely like dream role Nina in the Heights. It's like
Yeah.
very
Nice.
typecast of
Yeah.
me, but yeah,
That's a good one.
I know the whole.
Mine's somewhere between
yeah.
like Mark from Rent and Henry from
I
Next
don't
to
like
Normal.
Ren. I don't know. Love Next to Normal.
Yeah. Well, I think
That's
Henry's a great
dream role.
character.
Yeah, it's weird like being in California. It's cool that you guys like know so much about theater because there's not a theater scene. I did Spring Awakening when I first moved here.
I was gonna say
Nice.
that's my
That's
favorite
definitely
musical.
up
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, that's so cool. Y'all do theater. That's like what I thought I was gonna do. I thought I was gonna go to school for BFA musical theater. That's still like my main passion. It was hard getting the theater out of my voice. Like I have a lot of vibrato and stuff when I sing.
Left to our own devices, we write Broadway songs. Like we don't mean to,
Definitely.
but like
What,
we
you
just
do?
we like you know we've been accused of like in a session being like, oh, this is a bit too Broadway.
Yeah, people definitely said that about
Y'all
us.
should write a musical.
We are. Listen, you're not the fan.
We
You're gonna tell us
we are a
twice.
drunk night away from writing
You're
a
one
musical.
drunk night
Yeah.
away.
Wait,
Right,
dude,
yeah.
I'm there. I am there.
Come through. Yeah.
My music teachers in high school, like I did so much theater in high school. My music teachers like, you say you want to be a musician, but you do so much theater. Like I was doing community theater.
he was
productions.
Sweeney in Sweeney
Yeah,
Todd.
that was my favorite role. I got to be Sweeney and Sweeney
You were Sweeney Todd? I love Sweeney
That
Todd.
was so
That's
much
so
It was
good.
fun.
Taya.
You're Taya. Okay,
Yeah,
in Spring
okay.
Awakening. Got you.
I don't know why that. I mean, it was when I first moved to LA, so that was like it's
No,
been
it's-
like 2 years ago. But it's a good show.
It's a beautiful show.
Beautiful.
The music, "Touch Me" is my favorite song on there.
Yeah?
yeah. It's
I
like-
love Mama Who Bore Me.
I mean, that's-
yeah, it opens
yeah.
the show. So Hamilton like met all my expectations.
Oh yeah, I just actually saw it again in Chicago.
No way.
Like
How
a
was
couple
that?
weeks ago, it was great. But I saw the original cast a couple years
Really?
ago. Yeah, my mom got really lucky because she had a friend like, "There's this show, it's gonna blow up. You should get tickets to
Yeah.
it." She did that with Dear Evan Hansen too.
Dear Evan Hansen. Oh, one of my favorite plays was Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime.
I never saw that.
I
but
read the
loved
book,
that
though.
book.
So
I loved that book.
good. I was so surprised. Do you know what I saw in London? I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this musical. Everyone's talking about Jamie.
Yes.
No,
I
it
heard
was-
of that.
yeah.
Yes.
Surprisingly not good.
Not good.
Yeah,
I
I
just saw Moulin Rouge.
Really?
Yeah,
How's that?
If you like the movie and you love how campy the movie is, the musical is great.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed.
If you
Moulin
went in
Rouge.
expecting like a musical, you'd be like, eh. But if you went in like knowing how campy like
Yeah.
the movie is and how
Yeah.
the movie is just like borderline hard to watch,
yeah,
you would love it.
It's like the first season of Glee. Like it's like a lot of
Yeah.
mashups of pop songs that are like put in this Moulin Rouge context. Like it captured this what I thought was the spirit of the movie, which is this like campy cabaret like over the top love story. And I thought they did a really good job.
And
Of,
they
like,
did, yeah.
Okay.
And the
I'm
set
down.
pieces are really gorgeous.
yeah, the set
too.
pieces are really nice in that musical.
What's a dream role for you?
I was trying to think of that when you were talking about it. I
Yeah.
feel like I would like to be maybe the guy in Book of Mormon.
I haven't seen that yet. And I'm like so mad.
I saw the
I haven't
original-
seen it either.
I saw
Yeah.
the
It's
original cast
insane.
of Book of Mormon, and I really loved.
Heard it's
that show.
life-changing.
Because that was my favorite musical before Hamilton like happened, and yeah, I think I would love to just do like.
I cried at
hello.
Hamilton.
Yeah,
Me too.
I cried
Yeah.
most of the time.
Yeah.
Literally.
Oh, also, other dream role I thought of would be Jamie in the last 5 years.
Oh, Jamie, the
Oh.
last
Yeah,
5
like,
years.
that would
duh.
be great.
I
Duh.
love the last. Did you like the movie with Anna Kendrick?
I liked things about it. Yeah,
I like Anna Kendrick and I like Norman Butts.
You don't like Jeremy Jordan?
I no, listen, I know everybody. I know.
I like Jeremy Jordan when I watched the movie.
I'm obsessed with Jeremy Jordan.
I think
love
I
him.
think Norman Leo Butts just like captures the character so well.
Yeah.
That like.
I think Jeremy Jordan captured Jamie as like a fuckboy. Like I think he got that energy right about the character because that's totally him.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know, I feel like normally Abut's just like had strong performances.
Yeah,
like,
it was more of an adult performance.
I think he's a better actor. I think in general he felt it better.
He was more of the sort
Less
of like
contrived,
Jason Robert
kinda.
Brown kind of thing.
Yeah, you can tell. I don't know. There's something about Jeremy Jordan where it's just like you didn't feel it the way that you feel it with. It's just so like it's like, oh, the vibe is off. Like it's just there's something about the way that Jeremy Jordan just like didn't.
Well, that's why I say I like him in the movie, because I feel like his performance, like his physicality in the movie, captures something about the character that maybe his like voice alone didn't, like, compared to like the Broadway recording of like.
Yeah.
Of
Or it's like the
Norman
flip with
Butts.
Anna Kendrick. I feel like Anna Kendrick on the recording is just like there.
Yeah,
Like
I
she
really like her.
like
Kathy.
just can wreck you.
Yeah.
Whereas like in the movie she's fine. Like she does a great job. Don't get me wrong. But like in the recording, you
She's
listen.
there.
She's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Color Purple is amazing.
Oh wow.
Cynthia
Yeah.
Erivo. Whew. Good night. Have y'all seen Waitress?
No.
I haven't actually seen Waitress.
Whatever. Like,
Yeah. Actually,
I mean-
I didn't like a band's visit.
Band's Visit, I haven't seen that.
That was the new hot
It's not there anymore.
one.
It's
No,
off.
I think it's touring now.
I don't like cats. I cannot stand cats.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Horrible. I saw it at the Pantages. I got free tickets. I just
Don't know why they thought it'd be a good idea to make a movie of it.
No,
too.
it looks
Yeah.
creepy.
It looks terrifying. Did you see Next to Normal when it was playing on Broadway?
No. I've seen it like again at like a theater. I went to Stage Door theater camp.
Oh yeah,
in
yeah.
New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom gets the emails from Stage Door.
Really?
Yeah, like there's like tickets that go on sale, right?
Oh, I didn't know if like you went there or something.
Oh no, I didn't go. I was like I kind of wish I spent more time in theater. The thing is, my mom's a theater teacher, so my
That's so
act of rebellion was not liking it.
Yeah. No, theater was my thing growing up. I really thought that was the path I was gonna take, and then went the other way. But definitely, I'm gonna bring my way back at some point. That's like my heart is
Yeah,
theater.
I feel that. What was the thing that did it? Like, how did you realize if theater was like the thing for you? How did you get into this crazy world of pop music?
Yeah, so I definitely thought that my course would probably be like go to college for BFA in musical theater and then just stay in New York and audition. I thought that was kind of where I was heading. Then I was doing some cabarets in New York, and it was all these kids who have been on Broadway. So it was called Broadway Kids, and I've never been on Broadway, but I was just friends with a lot of those kids, and I auditioned, and they were like, yeah, like, we'd love to have you in this cabaret. So we'd perform quite often. Then one time a producer came to one of our shows and wanted to put together a reality show called Broadway Kids to send for pitch about kids like in this industry wanting to make it on Broadway. So I filmed that, and then out of that came like a short film that I did because one of the cameramen knew an opportunity for an audition for the short film, and I ended up getting the part. It was about human trafficking.
Oh,
Then
wow.
I fell in love with on-camera acting. So I just grew up doing theater, and I grew up working in theater at a ton of like equity regional theaters, and I just did it like myself. So I'd be that kid in school like looking up auditions, and my mom was kind of by herself. My dad was always traveling, so she raised 3 kids by herself. So I always be like, Mom, can you drive me to New York? And she'd be like, no, I can't. So I would like take the mega bus to Philly if there was stuff in Philly or whatever.
Right.
And then finally, so I got an agent for TV film. I just like was looking it up online and sent some submissions. And then I was contacted by The Voice when I was like 15 for an appointment. So I kept on going back with them, and they would call me each season to like after the open calls, they would have appointments. Then through that came American Idol, and I would come like to the final straw every time. And there's always something like they had another Latina girl with like something different, and I was like, damn, next season. So then I was really pursuing pop, and but they would call me in for country, funny enough, because like my niche was country at that time. I really liked singing like Jennifer Nettles and a ton of those songs.
Right.
Then fast back a couple years ago, I forgot to mention, I auditioned when I was just going on this like bunch of auditions myself that I'd find. I found an audition at the Kimmel Center for the Apollo Theater in Harlem.
Yeah.
And they do a thing called like Child Stars of Tomorrow. So I auditioned, and I ended up making it into the contest. And so it was like filmed and everything. So I went up to do it, and I actually won the contest.
How old were you there?
I was 13.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, way fast
Yeah.
back. I just forgot to mention that. But that's how I really was like, and I sang pop too. I sang a pop song, and I also sang Celine Dion, My Heart Will Go On. And that's the song that I won with. I know
Right.
this like 13-year-old belting the Celine
Yeah,
Dion
that's
song.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. So that's the song that I won with. And then I went back to do like the winners concert and stuff. And that's when I was like, damn, I love theater, but maybe I should really like look into pursuing pop, writing my own music. And I don't think I really even did it that seriously until I realized when I was 17, I wanted to definitely pursue. I didn't feel like I could pursue the TV film thing in Philly. And just like with sending all these like self tapes and stuff, I felt like I really had to be in it to go into these rooms and meet these casting directors and such. So when I was 17, I made this whole plan up. I found a full-time nannying job in California, and I found a roommate online. And so I presented my parents this whole idea for me to move to California and drop out of school. And my mom being an immigrant and moving away from home at such a young age, she was like, yo, if you got this, like, do your thing. You figure this all out yourself. Like, I'm not going to stop you. Like, do whatever it takes. If it doesn't work out, we'll be here.
That's
so
amazing.
Then, I was super lucky to have their support. I moved out. It was super weird. I didn't know anyone. And I really, when I was moving out, was focusing on the acting portion of it. I was doing some commercials. I had a TV film agent, and I would just like go to a ton of open mics. That's how I made all my friends in LA. And that's eventually, long story short, the open mics is how I met a producer who like wanted to do some sessions, who was watching the open mic, who knew a songwriter, who knew a producer, who is now my producer. And that's my producer's also managed by my manager. And so that's how I met my manager. But literally just putting myself out there is really kind of how I established a community and like found friends and like just start to navigate my way.
Well, people don't realize how important it is when you come out here to just as quickly as possible find your communities, whether that's through
I agree.
Showcases or like industry events or anything like that. I want to ask you like what those open mics were. So if anybody who's moving here, you know, like which ones would you go to?
Crave Cafe. So I lived across the street from Crave. No, but like right now it's kind of annoying because there's not many people going, so they end really early, which stinks. Me and my friends will go, we'll like play some. We used to do like Taco Tuesdays before to really like get people to go, because when I was going, they'd have to cut people off because they can only go till 11 and it was packed. You have to get there early to sign up. It's cool. You can do some spoken word music, comedy. But now they're really having trouble finding talent to go. And my friend hosts Deshaun. It's every Tuesday from 7 to 10, 10:30. Right now it's really not going that long. But Crave was popping when I went. Like, it's a super cool place to just try out some music. Then Monday nights there's Tuning Fork, which is close to Crave. Do you know where that is? In Studio City?
Tuning Fork? No,
I know where Crave is. So just that area. Yeah.
But really, honestly, the one that I would do is Crave every Tuesday. And I would just go and sing some music, go with some friends, try out some of my songs, and
find your people.
Yeah, that's also kind of how I started writing music, because I just noticed everyone there wasn't really doing covers, and that's what I was like, I can't really build a career on covers. That's why when I finally realized, like, yeah, I can sing, this is dope, but like it's gonna get to a certain point where if I'm not writing my own music, I don't have much control over where this goes. So that kind of inspired me, seeing these other people. I'd be like, hey, do you want to write with me? And I felt like the more I'd write with other people, the better I was getting at it.
What was the first song that you wrote that felt good for you? Like, what was the first song that was like, all right, well, this is actually where I want to start my artist project. This is where my heart's at.
Well, I feel like when I first started writing music, it was very like singer-songwriter, Sarah Bareilles. Coming from theater too, that's like all I was writing.
Sure, yeah.
Wasn't mainstream pop enough because it's just me sitting down at a piano. Never really had wrote to tracks or anything. And so it was just all of them were ballads, and I was like, I need to write something different. So I felt like once I started collaborating with other people, that's when I started going out of my own head and kind of writing different things.
Well, the double-edged sword of being a recovering theater kid is that on the one hand, like, theater music has some of the best, even Disney and stuff has some of the best hooks.
Yeah.
Like, period. You know, obviously these are songs that have to tell a story. These are songs that have to be complex, but also just work.
Yeah, but they're complex, but they're Disney. So like those writers had to like make sure that their melodic information was like presented in a way that a child could be like, I understand what's going on.
But even, I mean, take something like Les Mis, where, you know, even it's roughly 4 melodies throughout all of Les Mis. You know, you take something like Pippin, or you take Wicked, where honestly almost every song in that thing, other than like sort of the connective tissue, could be singles. You know, for in that sort of genre space. The double-edged sword is like you have all of these tools, but the pop sensibility isn't necessarily there. So we know what a hook is, we know what we want, but we don't necessarily know how to like bring it to that next place, which is why I think it's important for like that kind of collaboration.
Also, musicals are all about like you really have to literally tell a story. So that's one of the positives of like being a theater person. Like you're like, okay, telling a story with music is really intuitive, but also pop music is about telling a story in like somewhat of a clean, It doesn't have to be like I don't want to put too much value on it, but it's a sort of a clean, sanitized way insofar as you can't use as many words. You can't use as many syllables as you do in musical theater. Like you have to like pare down the idea and be like, okay, what are the 4 words that are going to get this point
accepted.
Across?
No. I'm too wordy anyway.
That's what I loved about country too. I felt like the storytelling of country was that was the closest to theater. So when I was kind of like just discovering my sound, I really gave myself a lot of time to like discover what type of music I wanted to make rather than just make what was like the most trending, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I still feel like I'm even finding more and more of my sound and allowing, like Lady Gaga, for instance, she's a big influence of mine. She has a theatrical background, as you may know, and she kind of incorporates that and doesn't have to shy away from that, because I'm not that like whispery Billie Eilish sound. I can try as much as you want for me to record that. It's just not who I am. I like...
No, you go in. I mean, like on the recordings, like you go in on like what you're... like how you're feeling, and like you belt when it's time to belt. Like you're not trying to play that off or play it airy or play whatever. It's like go in and like let the production rise to meet that. Versus like trying to like take half, which I think is really cool.
And Lady Gaga's really good at that.
I love her.
I'm almost jealous of the real estate that comes from hip hop and rap. Like there's so much you can do sort of in terms of wordplay and stuff. And I feel like pop music is now trying to co-op in some kinds of ways, but there's so much that you can do in that space, which is why I think you're now getting like a lot of those sort of pop, like hip hop, like rap hybrids that you're not entirely sure what they are anymore. They're just sort of somewhere in the middle of everything.
I feel like it's cool right now. Like no one is necessarily just in one genre of music or category. It's like a ton of influences brought together, which is like cool, seeing where music's going. I don't feel like, even with my EP, every song's super, super different. I don't feel like I wanted to try everything out, and really like I didn't like push myself into one category necessarily.
Well, yeah, we just like somewhat similar. Like we didn't want like our genre to be what defined the sound. Like we wanted it to be unified by the fact that like we were singing it or we were making it. Like what unifies your sound is that you're singing it, that it's your stories and everything, which I think is cool, Even some of my ballads, like Hollywood could easily cross over as a country song, but then like KOA is like the farthest thing from a country song. So that was super cool, because definitely when I first started, finding my sound was interesting because recording I had so much like vibrato and stuff from the theater, and also everything was super legato and enunciated.
That's definitely something. Just like I had to like honestly kind of unlearn a lot of things, like get rid of some technique and just be,
I mean, look
just
at Ariana
sing.
Grande. She was a big theater kid, but now you can't understand a word she says.
13.
So she clearly grew out of that.
Oh yeah.
Well, I would mumble when I sing just to piss off my mom, because she's again theater. So it's like enunciation. She'd be like, I can't understand anything. I'm just like,
good.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's the goal. Now, what was the first song on your EP that you started?
Mood. The one that I started or that was released?
That you started.
Risk It All is actually the last song on the EP, the last song released, and that was the first song. That was the song that I worked with my producer for the first one. And then, what did we write right after that? I think Barricades, which is the second single, was written right after Risk It All. And the way that my EP, I wanted it to tell my story. So if you listen to it from beginning to end, it kind of talks about me moving out to LA and like the, I guess, trials and tribulations of that, and not really sugarcoating any of it, because I could have easily wrote a whole EP about how great it is living in LA. And it is great living in LA, but I wouldn't be truthful saying that there were some times that were super hard at first. So just about my story and the influences, like my mom, who influenced my story. And I also just didn't want to be another 19-year-old breakup artist. I felt like the world needed something else to hear, and I felt like I could give that because of my story.
Well, and I think your story, especially now, is very potent. Like I think, especially like what's happening politically, for example, is not like passive to you like it would be for other people around. Like every change has like an effect on on you and your family and stuff. And has that been something that's been present in your mind, like when you're writing or things, some of the stuff that's happening politically?
Yeah, I feel like definitely. Well, working with Vic too, his dad is an immigrant and my mom was an immigrant, like an undocumented immigrant as well. My mom just got her citizenship like 5 years ago. And so we definitely had that topic of conversation a lot when we first met, because he was writing Camp America about the like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys were able to hear that song. The music video is really cool for it, but that's definitely something very personal to the both of us, coming from an immigrant parent and being first generation American.
Well, and it's important. Like the more voices like providing that perspective, the less likely there will be passivity from people who have that option.
Yeah.
You know, like they can't play ignorant anymore.
Yeah.
You know, when they hear that stuff, you know.
I feel like a big thing with my music too has always been empowerment. Like that's just a message I definitely want to get across, because I really do want my music to not only inspire my peers, but definitely like the younger generation to kind of like be the change that they wish to see. So, and that goes like across the board. A lot of the EP, that's what it was meant to do. But now I'm just finding different ways and different social issues I want to touch on, because I feel like that's kind of my niche. I do want to like write about relationships and that kind of stuff, because I want to challenge myself at first not to, like I said, not to be that 19-year-old breakup artist. So I like told myself we're not writing any relationship songs on this EP, but now I'm going to like allow myself to kind of, because I'm 19, I've been through some things, like have some personal stories that I'd like to share. But more importantly, I feel like there's a lot of social issues that speak volumes to me that I can use my music to share.
I think we now is really the time where we need those artists. Like I think that like back in the 60s, like I think we're in such formative and turbulent political times that we can't just have songs on the radio about like individual anxiety. Like I think the wave that I think is starting to build more and more is the wave of people who are writing more generally. Like it's, you know, it's been a lot of like I in the last couple of years, but I think that like there are a couple people moving towards the we, and I think that's like really important.
Well, it's also, I mean, there's a bigger dialogue happening now too about like mental health and taking care. I mean, when you came in, like before we started recording, we were talking about our health. We were talking about like we've all at some point had trouble sleeping.
Yeah, I feel like the mental health problem too is that it's not spoken about so much, and then there's this type of kind of like a stigma behind it, so then people almost like shy away from their mental health problems, and since they aren't able to talk about it, it just gets worse. So like using music as an outlet to like I said, use the we, that kind of just like creates a form of unity for people to be like, I don't know, I can talk about this, and what I'm going through is normal, and a ton of other people are going through the same thing. So that's definitely something that's been on my mind recently, is like anxiety. Like Mabel just released a song called Anxiety Anthem. I don't know if you've heard it.
No, I haven't.
The whole
yet.
premise is like it's okay not to be okay type of thing, which is super cool, because like with a song like that, a lot of those types of songs have always been like ballads and stuff, but it's more of like an up tempo, being like, we're gonna get through this together, which is super cool.
I think we're hearing a lot of that now, like you know, with Julia Michaels and even some of the Billie Eilish stuff, but just in general, like a lot of the artists are like writing about mental health in a very like pop
in an honest and stark way, but without compromising.
I saw the term anxiety pop the other day on the cover of Elle magazine.
That's interesting.
Like, I've never heard that term, but I think it's a really interesting like handle for like this particular wave of stuff that's happening right now.
Cool.
Because again, it's just one of those things where it's like the more we talk about it, I feel like going into your 20s, but also just like growing up now in general is so much about like having to deal with tension and frustration on a regular basis. Like on the one hand, there's frustration about the things that you can't do anything about, and there's tension for the things you can do something about, but like is really challenging and like takes time to do. And I feel like those are the two things that like hit me the hardest.
Yeah, I think everyone like has trouble giving up control, like me especially.
Oh yeah.
My favorite prayer is the serenity prayer. It's accept the things you cannot change, courage to change the things you can, and wisdom to know the difference. It's kind of like what I try to live by. Yeah. Because that's always probably some of my biggest anxieties is stuff that I honestly can't control, you know?
Well, and my biggest trouble right now is the wisdom, you know? Like I feel like given the opportunity, you know, I can accept things and I can change things. I just don't necessarily know
the difference.
When I should, you know? And sometimes you push really hard against stuff that won't move, and sometimes you don't do anything for the things that all you had to do was ask. And I think that's really you know, and that's not just with other people, that's sometimes with yourself too.
No, totally.
You know, so it's important to be talking about it,
especially like for creatives too. I know like this industry comes with a lot of pressure, so instead, I don't know, I feel like I'm lucky that I surround myself with a lot of people. I have a good support group, so there's no sort of, living in LA, I feel like it's super easy to somehow get caught up in a group where there's not that support because everyone's doing the same thing. But I found good people, good genuine people from LA or people who moved out to LA who honestly, like, everyone's just trying to support each other because we're all going through it, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like we got really lucky just in terms of we knew that there was probably going to be a struggle coming out here, but our friends have just been so kind to us, and between the podcast and whatever, there's like a community that even now, like we barely know each other, but
I know.
if you have a rough day,
let's go.
Come
I'll
out.
hit you
Like,
up.
yeah, just like there are people here who are in your corner. I don't know. That feels to me the most valuable thing about a community out here. Not necessarily like the come up, not necessarily like the build,
No,
if that happens is a nice side, byproduct.
Supporting the journey.
Exactly.
'Cause that's like the journey is kind of like the hardest part, but like at the same time, the most rewarding part.
Because even some success is complicated.
Yeah.
One of the things we talk about a lot on the podcast is when things are going well, but you still aren't feeling great, how hard that is to talk to other people about. So they're like, you should be grateful. You should
Exactly.
You should be this. And it's like, fuck you, I'm sad.
No, definitely. Yeah, I feel like maybe, and this is like hard for creativity, like especially when I was acting and everything, you can't really, like, if you shut off your personal life and try not to feel things, it's going to come across like creatively horribly.
Yeah.
Because I think the way that I would deal things, which was a super unhealthy way to deal with things, would be just to kind of avoid it and like, hey, I know I'm feeling sad, but I'm going to ignore it. And then I couldn't even really channel how I was feeling when I would go to write music and stuff because I wasn't dealing with things in my personal life.
Yeah.
So I hate that feeling of like knowing I'm feeling sad, but I don't feel anything because I'm not allowing myself. So I feel like that's an inner struggle I have, is just like accepting how I feel, because for me, it just felt easier not to deal with rather than like learning the coping skills and allowing people to help, because I don't want to ask for help,
Well, and sometimes you don't even realize you're running from something until you A, stop, or B, get caught by it.
Especially if you're running from yourself.
Exactly, yeah. It's like, here's this thing you've been ignoring, and you don't even realize you're ignoring it until it's like weighing so heavily on you.
The way that I ignore it is like I surround myself with people 24/7 sometimes, just so I don't have to be alone with my own thoughts.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's like my biggest coping mechanism, but I kind of catch myself on that a lot because that's not a healthy way to live. I have to be able to like sit with my own thoughts and really kind of, I don't even know, reflect on them, so then I can write my music and speak truthfully rather than just like how I want to feel, not how I'm actually feeling,
Yeah.
You have to try to get as close as you can to being a complete person. So it just gets harder the older you get.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, tell me about Barricades, because that was a song that like you when you came in and we were talking about it, you were really passionate about, and you can hear it. It's so much of that influence.
I'm running through the barricades. I'm running through the barricades. Knock 'em down.
Yeah, Barricades is one of my favorite songs.
Well, tell me about how that started.
Barricades started because my first single, Mood, describes my journey to LA and all of the no-sayers, everyone who told me back home, like, you're not gonna be able to do it, because I moved from Philly when I was 17, dropped out of high school, so obviously there were a lot of people being like, this is crazy, coming from a town where there's honestly only one sort of path, they think, is like going to college and everything, so they thought I was crazy, my parents were crazy, and I never really allowed any of that to kind of alter my decision. But obviously sometimes, like, you sit, even the plane ride there, I'm like, are they right? Like, what am I doing? And even when I got sick, which I'll get to, when I got sick a couple of months later, there was definitely some doubt that crossed my mind. Maybe they were right. But Barricades is after I moved. It's about some of the, I'm caught up in all the hesitation, all of these problems I'm facing like right when I move. And then finally feeling settled in the move, finding a community of people and being like, look at me now. I made it through the rain, all of these things. So it's in the course of telling my story, being like, I made it through some of the hard times, because you could look at Barricades like before I got sick, because even before I got sick, moving to LA, I didn't know anyone. So I was working a full-time job at 17, and it was working with kids. I was a nanny. Right. So that didn't allow me to meet any people. And I also didn't have a lot of time to meet people. So I was very lonely, I'll be honest. Like, this is so funny. I looked online at this high school, and because I was 17 at the time. So I looked up like their basketball schedule. So I showed up by myself. I looked up the school colors and I showed up by myself to the basketball game. I made 0 friends that day. It was this private school. So like the whole grade knew each other, and they were like, who is this girl? But my friends loved that story. I showed up and like made no friends.
You're just trying to make friends.
I wanted to make friends. Wow. I tried. But yeah, Barricades can be seen from the beginning of that, or when I moved back to LA after being sick for the 2 months. So I moved to LA.
What were you sick with?
Lyme disease. And so
Oof.
that's what Hollywood's about too, was just like my disillusionment with LA. I became very disillusioned.
Do you know how you got the tick?
Yeah, I grew up in Philly where the grass is like super, super high. There's deer in my front yard, backyard. I have a dog. There's this place called the Cove where we would all like go through and jump off into the lake. Guarantee you I got it from there. The grass is so, so high. And I was going there a lot that summer. So I was diagnosed before my move, and I didn't want to delay my move because, again, I didn't want the people being like, oh, we were right. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to prove anyone, which is so stupid. I don't care what they think now, but...
How did you feel with the disease? Because I know a lot of people sort of vaguely understand what it is, but for the friends of mine that had it, it's been a different experience almost for everybody.
Yeah, the reason I got tested is because I just wasn't feeling like myself. My memory was horrible. I was just like a quick, smart kid, and then I started forgetting things, couldn't retain a lot of information, had a bit of like a delay. So there was a lot of cognitive issues. My joints started hurting. I was not sleeping. So then they were like, let's just run a few tests. And then, of course, right before I moved, that's when they diagnosed me with Lyme. And so I didn't want to get treated right away because I didn't want that to delay the move. So my plan was to get treated right when I went to California. And I don't think I really realized the severity of it and how quickly, because the longer it takes for you to get treated, it gets worse.
Yeah.
So when I first moved, I just wanted to settle in. I didn't want to really deal with the treatment, and I just kind of put it off. And I became super, super sick. My joints were really, really bad. I couldn't drive anymore just because of all of the cognitive issues it was causing me. So I ended up at Cedars-Sinai, and then they decided it was best for me to go, since I was a minor, I was 17 at the time, it was best for me to go home at 17 to be with my family during treatment. And that was like, you know what I'm saying? I met people at Crave. I was getting my life together. I was getting on a lot of auditions. I was writing a ton of music.
Forward, like one step
then
back.
one step back.
Yeah.
And then I was also just like, these people aren't, because it was only 2 months into living here. So I was just like, and I don't know why I cared. I felt like that's why when I went home for treatment, no one knew I was home. I wasn't on social. I was there for like 2 months. No one knew I was home. Went off social media. You won't see like any posts from those months that I was home because I just didn't I don't know. I felt like it almost showed a weakness, and that's why I didn't even like really, I wasn't going to write it about it in my songs. I didn't want anyone to know. And then being on the other side of it, that's why I decided to write about it, even in a kind of vague way with Hollywood, because I felt like it was more strength being on the other side of it and talking about it rather than just like allowing it to defeat me and seeing it as a weakness.
Well, you get to take a shitty thing and make it useful, make it valuable, make it potentially positive by having it exist in this new kind of form, which I think is really cool. And Hollywood, it runs sort of like a ballad. So it feels very heartfelt and very earnest, which I think is really cool. Yeah, and I still suffer with a lot of symptoms from the Lyme. That's something a lot of people don't know, is like after you get treated for Lyme disease, kind of follows you with a few things like my insomnia, just like the occasional cognitive issues, joint pain. Memory issues still? Yeah. And that can also be attributed just to my lack of sleep, but also low column A, low column B, because the lack of sleep is triggered by
the Lyme.
Now tell me about Mood and also about how you first met Vic Mensa.
Vic Mensa, our managers, have been friends for a minute, and when we decided, Mood was the single that we decided to, for my EP, really be the come out single, because that really just puts the whole EP in a little box and just describes what it's all about, my story. It's kind of like the bigger picture. So when we decided to use that as the single, we wanted to we wanted to make sure it was the right feature on it, because that song is like very personal and tells a lot about my story and very specifically. So we just didn't want anyone singing on it. And Vic is also from Chicago. He moved away when he was at 17 to pursue music. He was just going on tour. So it's not like he moved to LA. He was just going on tour and left home to pursue his music. And he comes from like a fighter city too. And I feel like people who come from like Philly, Chicago, it's a very same mentality, especially like I said, kids of immigrants. It's just that like driven, hustle, dream focused. So I felt like he could add a lot to the song because of his story as well. It wasn't just someone like making a story up or just freestyling on a verse. It really was his personal story, and I felt like it added a lot to the original song.
Were you guys in the room when you were making the version with him featured, or was it sort of like a remote communication?
My manager was actually in the room with him and it was a surprise. So I was in New York for an EP release and he was like, I want to show you something, and didn't tell me who it was and showed me his verse, and I was like in tears.
I left home when I was 17 to chase $1 in a dream. My brother got killed that same week. I can still hear the screams echo through the wreck where the violence is like Medellin. I keep an extra clip cause I got issues like a magazine. My life ain't been an easy ride, but I believe that deep inside the same struggles we survive give us reason to be alive. Been trying to find my peace of mind. Niggas trying to get a peace of mind. So much drama.
I didn't even care who it was because it wasn't about like Vic Mensa being on the song. It was just like whoever, because when you listen to the rap, it's like whoever had this story, just it complemented my story so well. And it was cool hearing like the they say, I say choir vocals being incorporated in that. And then when he told me it was Vic Mensa, I've been listening to Vic Mensa in high school,
course, yeah.
like huge on the East Coast, and I was in awe. It was like the best surprise ever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I love that it is like a sort of surprise for you. That was just
Yeah,
like, oh, yeah,
no,
by the
it was
way,
amazing.
Like, here goes, you know.
And then after meeting him too, super sick. Like, I don't know, we vibed really well. Like I said, I just feel like people from the East Coast, like those cities really get it. I don't
Well, and
know.
it's also like the kind of Hamiltonian, like having to prove yourself too. You know, like I feel just like the fact that you guys have very similar backgrounds, that there's always just a little bit like we need to like show that we're more than people think we are.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel especially like when I was younger, just like being underestimated was such an insult.
For sure.
You know, like something that just like always drove to like get shit done.
That's why like with LA, I just can't really, the whole like laid back vibe of it, I can't do it. Like I love New York. I like the hustle. Like I just can't do the like, let's sit down, let's get lunch on like a Tuesday. I need to keep on doing more or else I'll get frustrated at the end of the week. I just want to like optimize all the opportunities and time that I have while I'm young, so like I can look back and be like, I gave everything I could, you know?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Nobody can take that shit from you.
Yeah.
No.
And it's like they can say whatever that they want, but nobody can say that we like didn't give this everything.
Yeah, growing up with that mentality, I think helped me a lot too. I'm like appreciative of where I was raised and also like who I was raised by, because my parents are like really hard workers too. And so just growing up with that mentality, I think coming here, like it was a force to be reckoned with, because with distractions, it's still obviously everyone like now and then. I'm not going to say like that I do put myself in check a lot, and I have a lot of people around me that I'm lucky enough that they'll put me in check too if I'm distracted or whatever. Like we all have those times, but luckily enough, I always get back to like the focus. I'm a very focused individual, I would say.
Well, I mean, you're crazy on it. Like I think what's really cool just in the 2 hours we've known you is just like it's very obvious you're driven. It's very obvious that nothing's like stopping you, and that there's a lot going on up here as far as just like seeing the bigger picture and prioritizing. I feel like that was something that we struggled with so much when we first started out, was just like trying to figure out what was important.
Y'all are doing everything. It's super cool working on your music project and this.
But I mean, it
You're
all
making the most of
I
your
think
time.
it stems from the fact that we, you know, there are things that are important to us that isn't necessarily satisfied by just one of those things. But I think, you know, when we first were starting out, we were trying to figure out what's important to us. And that, I think, what's really cool and inspiring to hear from you is that was the start. Like that was the heart of it. You know, you had your priorities set before any of this madness. So the madness couldn't necessarily rock you, even shit like Lyme disease. So it's commendable. Is there a line in Mood that stands out to you? Is there a line that you really love?
Vic's rap or just my...
How about both? One in
Okay.
was that you did something that Vic said.
I'll start with Vic's. They say I'm on top of the world. I feel like it's on my shoulders.
They say I'm on top of the world. I feel like it's on my shoulders.
I like that a lot.
That's great.
I thought that was super sick. That's his verse. I really can't. That was a lot. And his stories, it was cool because when you hear Vic Mensa, a lot of the songs I knew was like Liquor Locker. And I feel like I didn't know a lot about him. He was just a really good writer, and because I knew that he like just wrote a lot of other things too, and he also sings. Like his projects are insane, and I've been listening to him for a while, but I think of like Liquor Locker and all of these songs, but I never really knew his personal story. And then hearing his song like a week after he moved away from Chicago to go pursue music, his brother was shot. Like he's been through the neck of it. Like
yeah. He has that song Pouring Rain with that Emmett Fenn.
Oh yeah, that's a great record too.
That's like, I don't know how much of that's real, but that's some like crazy, you know, I'm sure it's a story of somebody he knew or something. Like that's
story.
just
Crazy.
You know, because I know him a lot from his like feature stuff. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, before Johan sort of when we first talked, he's like, listen to him, like check out his.
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
My brother's a huge fan. So
Of
my
Vic?
brother,
Yeah.
yes, my brother kind of got me like well acquainted.
Yeah, he's doing like a whole punk rock band right now.
Yeah.
called 93
Yeah,
Punks.
Yeah, and
It's
that's
super cool.
that's what Johan's been working on with him. I don't know. He does have like a way of sort of seeing stuff that's not necessarily cynical but stark. I think is really cool.
Especially right now, I think a lot of his stuff, it's super brutally honest because he's touching on a lot of social issues.
Yeah.
And some of it's a bit dark. But the 93 Punks is like a totally different project for him that I really like it right now. I'd like to see where he's going with it.
Yeah.
The music videos for that are really interesting.
And what's your favorite line of from Moon?
Mood?
Yeah.
Probably Fear Won't Tell Me What to Do. Leaving was just the beginning.
Don't tell me what to do. Leaving was just the beginning.
Hey.
Yeah, that's great.
I feel like that speaks on really...
That's you on the
that's
flight.
me,
That's the whole
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
And that's a lot of that song's just about like all of the no sayers and stuff, but like it was I love the choir vocals and that, like the people being like they say, I'm like but I say.
Yeah.
That's why I like the music video too, because being totally honest, like it's not like I didn't have like it got to my head sometimes, because I mean as a 17-year-old, like all of these adults telling you can't do something, and then like maybe even my parents got shook up once or twice about it, but like literally I just remember that day boarding that flight and like getting into my apartment, and like it's just like, what am I gonna do? All my friends are going to
Yeah.
school and stuff like that. What am I gonna do? Like, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know anyone, didn't know any producers.
But that fear is so important though too,
Yeah,
because it's like
I grew so much as a person.
because like if you don't have that fear, you're not gonna start cooking. You're not gonna be desperate. You're not gonna push.
That's what it was.
To like make this stuff. Like you're gonna be good and not great. Like
Yep.
you're not gonna be feeling like you have to get stuff done, or that there's like this sort of Damocles over your head. Like that's the feeling that I feel like I've lived with. You know, like my stomach hurts. Like there's stuff
Yeah.
hanging above me at any time. You know, and that's remarkably motivating, if not somewhat unhealthy, but that fear is important.
Yeah.
In the same way that, like, you know, Death Cab for Cutie, fear is the heart of love. Like there is so much fear in the things that you love because it's something that could be, that you can lose. So I think having that fear, so at least you can rise to the occasion and like be there for the things that you care about. I think fear is remarkably important.
Definitely.
As long as it doesn't cripple you.
Yeah, I think fear can teach us what's important. I think, you know, it's like the problems arise when you like let fear drive, but like fear is definitely a powerful tool in being like, oh, this when the things you're most afraid of are very truthful things about you. So I think fear is definitely a learning tool.
Totally. And never getting like too comfortable, because I feel like the day that I decide I know it all, or like I want to stop learning, is the day I stop growing.
Yeah.
Because I just like seek knowledge everywhere I go from the people I meet. Because that day where I decide, oh, I don't need to, like, I know everything, I'm not going to grow anymore, and I'm too comfortable, and I'm going to stay where I'm at.
And you're gonna be passed by some 19-year-old
Yep.
who's working their ass off to
Totally.
answer those questions, you know. And I don't know. I feel like at the end of the day, we've said this. The thing that I can at least guarantee about us is that we'll always be chewing on questions.
Yeah.
That at least will drive us to get to that next place.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like you're the same way. That you won't be able to just like call it a day. Like you'll be asking yourself, all right, what's next? How do
why
I
I don't
grow?
sleep, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we all don't sleep.
Yeah. I just like to surround myself with people that challenge me too. That's like something
Yeah.
I look for in people, is people that will challenge my ideas, because that's super important. I don't want everyone
Or
just
call
like,
you out on
Yeah,
behavior.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and ways that like
are beneficial, and like constructive criticism. Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly. Are you ready for the question round?
Yeah.
Question round.
Sure.
There's a question round.
Non-musical question.
Okay.
First question is, what is your phone background?
Les Mis. I'm not joking.
Nice.
What was it?
Les Mis. Here, I'll show you. It's when I was in London for the first time. Yeah, when I was in London for the first time this summer writing some music, I wanted to see Les Mis so badly, but they were closed, because I heard like the London version of Les Mis is amazing, and I've never seen it on Broadway or anything, so I wanted to see it so badly, but it was closed. So then I was just like, if I put this, like, because I do believe in like visualizing it
Sure.
and also like speaking things into existence. And like I said, it's my dream role. So I took a picture and I was like, one day I'll be here. And now I'm going back to London actually October 19th for another writing trip.
That's awesome.
Oh, nice.
And it's open, so I will definitely be trying to.
So you did
See Les
manifest
Mis.
it.
Yeah.
I know we talked at length about theater stuff, but do you have another like non-musical hobby, something that you're like passionate about that you do?
I would argue theater is a musical hobby.
I mean, musical theater, yeah.
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 Reading. Yeah.
Great.
That's
yeah.
an important one.
I read a lot of like Holocaust and World War II books. I just finished
wow.
The Tattooist of Auschwitz.
Wow.
It's a true
Yeah, I've heard of
story.
that
It
one.
was a beautiful book. I really recommend it. And I also want to see Alone in Berlin. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie.
I
I
haven't.
don't think so.
Yeah, I'm looking to see that too.
What skill would you like to have?
I really wish I could dance hip hop. I mean, I do it. Sometimes I'll like go take a class because a lot of my friends are dancers, but I'm not necessarily great at it. And I just love it. It feels so good to kind of express myself through dance.
I feel that. I was always the worst at the actual dancing when I would do like choreography in my musical numbers, but I always enjoyed it. Like I always had fun doing it. I had fun like learning the steps and like getting into the physicality of it. So that's another thing that I'd like to do eventually.
Musical theater dance, like jazz and stuff, was a lot easier for me. I picked up on that really well just because I had to. But like hip hop is
really,
totally
yeah,
different.
It's really involved, and yeah, it's like hard to pull off.
Dance was just never something that I feel like my body just feels heavy all the time. Like the things that I really wish I could do were the things that required like more fine motor skills.
I think that's why I like dancing though, because it's just like it is outside of my comfort zone, and the times when I've done it and it's felt really good, it's been like, oh, like this just makes me feel like, you know, like I can do this. Like it breaks me out of myself a little bit. Which fictional universe would you like to live in?
I feel like I would like to live my life, and this sounds crazy, but I go around living my life as if I'm performing a show. So like being on Glee and just breaking into song, like that is just, I would love that. My friends in high school would always be like, Julia, you act as if you're like a scene. They're like, you're so dramatic and stuff like that. But I see everything. Like I could just break into song like this. So I guess like High School Musical or Glee. Funny enough, I would have loved to go to an arts high school. Like that would have been the greatest. Going to theater camp was super cool because I was surrounded by that like 24/7.
So it was music school for us. You'd be in the cafeteria, and then all of a sudden somebody would just like break into song.
I
like
love that.
Well, I think when we were there, it was like a little bit annoying.
We're like,
I was obsessed with Victorious. Like at an age that I was a little bit too old to be obsessed with Victorious. I think because I just loved.
You're never
like,
too old.
I was frustrated with my own high school. Even though I did a lot of theater in high school, I was like frustrated with my own high school experience because like just like look at these kids just frolicking around in high school, just like making music and like, you know, just like living in LA. Like I loved that image so much. You
know, we've asked this question like a bunch of times, like every episode, but in my brain has never answered it for myself. And just sort of sitting here, I suddenly had an answer. I want to be in the fictional universe of How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Why?
Because in How to Train Your Dragon 2, they've already tamed the dragons. So the first one was taming the dragons, convincing people to tame the dragons. Second one, dragons are tamed, flying around on dragons, having a great time. So that's
okay.
right.
That's a good one. That's a great answer.
I would very much like to fly on dragons.
How to Train Your Dragons 2, not the first one.
Not the first one.
Not the first two, yeah.
Second one.
Dragons are chill in the second one.
Yeah. Well, sort of
chill.
Yeah.
What would you say your superpower is?
I have good intuition. I feel like I love That's So Raven. I would watch that when I was younger, but sometimes I would like think I was psychic because I really like see things before they happen.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I just have a good like sense of people, and especially when I get to know them, I can get a good grasp of no matter what type of version they give me of themselves. I'm really good at like seeing straight through it, you know, and seeing them for who they really are. But I can really like see things right before it happen. My intuition's really good. I don't listen to it always, but
it's always there.
Yeah, it's always there.
Yapping away.
Someone the other day was talking to me about like the difference between anxiety and fear.
Interesting.
Yeah, because a lot of people mistake fear as anxiety or anxiety as fear when they're two completely different things.
I've always felt that like fear is more survival oriented. Like I'm genuinely scared about eating and sleeping and whatever, or like my health, versus like anxiety of like, oh, this thing that I had might go and I don't want that. Like anxiety for me feels like quality of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna think about that one for a while.
Yeah, just chew it over. No, just chew it over.
Just sit on that.
Chew it.
All right. Most important question: would you be a pirate?
Would I?
Yeah. Like,
what do you mean?
in sailing times, like if that was the world that you were born into.
What is my other option? Just not to be a pirate?
I guess just to not be a pirate.
I really don't know how to answer that question. Well, I've never thought about this. I feel like there's a lot of other things I would choose to be before a pirate. But during those times, yeah, I think I'd be a pretty cool pirate.
You wouldn't mind pillaging anyone, stealing from the.
You gotta do what you gotta do. Every man for themselves.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely the pirate spirit. I love it. Do you have any tattoos?
Yeah, I do. I only have one. So it's the Om symbol. When I was in freshman year of high school, one of my close friends passed away very suddenly. Yeah, it's okay.
How'd they die?
So he was in the football team, and he was really, really passionate and talented in football. Like he was definitely going to go D1, and all my friends were doing spring training with him, and he was a healthy kid and was doing the ropes and just seized on the field and died in front of a ton of my friends. He had a pre-existing heart condition that they didn't know about. So that was really super, super hard for me at the time. And I had my grandfather pass away when I was 10, but I never really dealt with like someone around my age passing away besides like one of my mom's best friends. So that was really hard to deal with because there was no like onset of that coming and happening, you know?
Yeah.
So I was trying to find a good way to celebrate him. And then his football number was 30. So I thought definitely I want to honor him in the way of football because that's something he was most passionate about and he had a lot of life in him. So then the Ohm symbol looks like a 30,
Right.
but it represents like universal peace and a bunch of things I really felt he exuded. So then the Ohm symbol became my thing and I wore it as in my rings, my necklace, just to celebrate his life. And then I told myself when I was 18, I would get a tattoo. So I got the tattoo. And also in the back of my phone, like I said, I really like the serenity prayer. In his memorial card, they actually had the serenity prayer too.
Oh, wow.
So it's always been my favorite prayer. And I was like, when I showed up and saw this, I was like, wow, because that's what I need to live by, especially with all my anxieties and stuff. It says like living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace, taking as he did the sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that he will make all things right if I surrender to his will, that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him forever the next. Amen. And then it also says the beginning part that everyone knows, that God grant me serenity.
The things I cannot change.
Yeah.
My dad had that hanging in the house.
It's my favorite prayer. I feel like if I have that down, the rest of my life kind of goes really well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What was your first concert?
My first concert was Josh Groban at age 5.
That's great. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, Lady Gaga, Edge of Glory.
Nice.
Ooh, that's a great one.
I wake up out of bed and I'm just like, let's go.
Favorite movie, book, and TV show?
My favorite book is probably Between Shades of Grey, and that I read that a while ago. And that I always loved reading. And I think I kind of had like, it's like, you know how when you didn't want to do theater because your mom, I think I just like was kind of rebellious against the teachers. I'm like, I don't want to read this, because just because you're making me to. I want to read books because I want to. And so like I read great books in school, like The Outsiders and such, but I didn't really appreciate them until I got out of school. My favorite movie, TV show, How I Met Your Mother. Hands down. I love that show. I can watch that a million times over. Love Neil Patrick Harris. I saw him in Hedwig and the Angry Inch. So nice.
Good. That's
that was like life changing.
I
want to see Darren Criss, but
he would have been great too.
Yeah, he was really super good. And then what's the other one? Movie.
Yeah, movie.
This is super weird, but Titanic. I don't know. I watched that over and over. Yeah, it's a long movie, but I can watch it over and over.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in that movie for sure.
Yeah. And also the book, it's Between Shades of Grey, not 50 Shades of Grey.
No, it's the sequel.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What?
That's the sequel, right?
No. Everyone no.
Between Shades of Grey?
No, that's a Holocaust book.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oops. I didn't know you were being serious.
Yes.
50 Shades Darker.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what the sequels were called. I just assumed it was a 50 Shades of Grey sequel. Do you imagine somebody picking up that book, like ready to just like get it on?
Did you actually think that was my favorite book? Like the second book of 50 Shades of Grey?
The second one. I don't think those are particularly
Those movies are horrible. I'm sorry.
Those movies are horrible.
Could you just imagine though? Somebody just like picks up that book like ready to go, and then they're just like, what? They're in a camp?
I want to read Twilight. Because I watched all the movies, but like I feel like I would love the books. I want to like reread Twilight.
Books are not good.
Really?
I was super into the first two books.
I like Cirque du Freak. That was the vampire book for me.
Cirque du Freak.
Okay, I'm gonna keep that in mind because I really like vampire books.
Yeah.
I'm starting to read Harry Potter, which is so random, and I'm only in the first book, and it just feels very kiddish and like immature. But everyone said like it gets amazing.
Yeah, it grows.
No matter what age, like
it grew up with a generation of people. Like as the characters grow up, and then the movies happen. The actors grew up. The whole thing has a.
I like mystery novels too, and funny enough, my great grandmother was like a published mystery novelist.
Agatha Christie.
And she was friends with Agatha Christie.
What?
Like that was one of her best friends. I swear to God, isn't that so crazy?
That's crazy.
Mabel Sealy.
Wow. All right.
Shout out.
Can lend you a book.
Please do. Yeah.
Sounds good. Always down for a mystery. Do you have a favorite sound?
I know my least favorite sound. I'll tell you that first. Do you know like those cards that? I can't. It gives me the chills. Do you know those cards that like move? What are they called? Like when you have that, it's like a card or a piece of paper, and like if you tilt it, the picture changes.
Yeah.
when people scratch that or if I touch that.
Oh, holograph.
Yes, I like
interesting.
chalkboards more than that. I can't look at those.
Interesting.
I literally can't even look because I get the feeling, ooh, I like really can't do those. My favorite sound, maybe like a humidifier. For some reason, I love the sound of a humidifier, like mist.
like the
soft
okay,
white
yeah.
noise
There's something
kind of
about
thing.
water for me. Like my favorite
Yeah.
smell is the smell of pavement after it rains.
Oh yeah, petrichor.
Petrichor.
Yeah.
What's the best date you've been on?
Super LA, but we went up to Mulholland and sat on the roof of his car and looked
Nice.
at the stars
That's
Aw.
great.
and just played music.
That's great.
It's the simple things for me.
Yeah.
Like it's more like thought than I don't need to go to even for like a first date. I feel like I'd be kind of uncomfortable going to like something super fancy. It's really not me because I like to get to know the person, and I feel like it's something fancy people try to put on a show or whatever. But just like I'd rather go through an In-N-Out drive-through and really see what they're like.
Yeah, that's
Casually.
That's truly the best way to
Yeah.
meet someone. This is my second day with my girl. Well, first day I went to her stand-up show, and then the second day we went to the Apple store together because I had to go to the Apple store. So I was just like, I just met you, but you're just
Coming with me.
like come along to what I'm doing during
Yeah.
my day and see if we vibe. And
Be a
I was
part of
just
my
like,
life.
That was the way to do it.
I'm still sort of new in this relationship, like I
Yeah.
said, but like I went to Chicago to see her for the first time, and she planned stuff. We went to like fancy restaurants. We actually saw Hamilton. Like it was a nice thing. The best day that we had though was when we didn't get out of our pajamas and just watched like 80s films
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
and comedians and stuff. Like that's all I want.
That,
you
yeah,
know?
that's all I
It's just-
need.
that's
you
all I-
know?
yeah.
That's all we really need as people.
I'm so tired.
Me
like,
too.
I just like, you know, as much as I like the I mean, I loved don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining about the fancy restaurants
You're
in
like, if
Hamilton.
you hear this,
Yeah, no, but she knows. Like, and she's saying like, you know, she's coming here. She's like, don't plan anything. Like, I just want to watch movies. I'm like, I'm planning
Aw.
stuff. but
especially
we'll
for
also watch
long
movies,
distance,
yeah.
that's like it's just the time that you spend together. It doesn't need to. You don't have to be doing anything, but just in each other's company.
Yeah.
Can you whistle?
No.
Yeah, I feel like
I've always wanted to. That's something that's always been annoying. I'm like, I wish I could whistle.
Can you snap?
Yeah.
Oh, but you can snap well.
Really?
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, I'm like that person at
This is
when people are doing poetry or a jazz club. I'm like, yes.
oh, like that's like a sampleable snap. Like for me, it's like
get my snap.
like
Oh, but can you whistle? Yeah.
Do you have a scar with a story?
Yeah, I mean, okay, it's not on me, but my sister, when I was younger, she took my puzzle and I bit her so hard that she still has the mark, but it's in the shape of Mickey Mouse. So we always joke, like, whenever we go to Disney World, we take a picture of her scar and stuff, but it's literally in the shape of Minnie Mouse.
That's
I bit her
awesome.
so hard, she still has it. Whenever people are like, what's that?
Wow.
She's just like,
That's some proper sibling.
older
Yeah.
or younger.
younger. I'm the oldest.
Gotcha. What's the age difference?
I'm 19. My sister's 17. My brother's 15. I feel
Okay.
like that's also kind of like my thing. I've always wanted to be a role model because I have younger siblings, and I just love. That's why I really want to inspire like the younger generation and reach out to them through my music to be like a big sister or like give them advice I wish I had. You know?
No, I fucked everything up for my brother.
No.
I know for me it was just like because I felt like a pressure to sort of know what I wanted to
Yeah.
do and like go forward. Now my mom has like this tremendous pressure on my brother. Like, Nate figured it out. Why haven't you figured it out? I'm like, you're 19. Like, you don't have to figure
Yeah.
it out. You know, actually, he's 20 today. Shout out to my brother.
Yeah,
Happy birthday, Ray.
You're like, I'm still figuring it out, Mom.
Yeah, like I'm still figuring out, but I feel like I just sort of hid a lot of like the uncertainties and then got really lucky.
Everyone's different.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I wasn't necessarily looking out for him the way I should have, you know?
Yeah. What are you most proud of?
This might sound cliche, but I feel like the thing I'm most proud of is, I guess, my resilience. Like, going through the Lyme disease, I would still, like, go sit on the piano. I really didn't let any of it stop me. And it would have been really easy for me just to move home. But I was so proud of myself the day I came back to LA. Like, before Christmas, I spent Christmas there. I was like, you know what? I'm doing this. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was also like, I'm around all of my friends in their senior year of high school. My parents were obviously really worried about me. And they did give me the option. They're like, if you want to come back and leave this life behind you, like, no sweat off anyone's back. But I was really proud of, like, sticking to, because I knew what I wanted, but it would have been super easy for me just to, I guess, be fearful because of what happened.
Well, it's one thing to do the thing when everything's working in your favor. It's
That's
a lot
what
more
it
sort
is.
of commendable when everything's pushing against you and you're doing it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the respectable side of all the shit.
Yeah, definitely. And looking forward, what are you most excited for?
In the near future, I'm releasing a single next month that I'm really excited for. Like I was telling y'all about, after my EP came out, none of the songs were really like dancey or any of that. And with summer just having happened, I was told like, yeah, you should. I went to London. They're like, you should really write a summer single. I get all these briefs with it would just be like write a summer happy single, and that's just not how I was feeling with my sleep and a lot of health problems like my Lyme. Having been the past 6 months, I kind of came back. I tested positive for Lyme a couple of weeks ago again. So it's just figuring all of that out, and then also going to the studio with like 4 days of not sleeping and then 2 days of like sleeping 3 hours. I was faking it. And then finally I went off brief and took a session just for myself to really write what was off my chest. And that was the song that stuck. So next month I'm really just releasing something that's been really truthful to me, and a reason that I've been very quiet on like social media and not having released music in a minute. And I feel like it's very personal to me, and I'm excited to share it with everyone else, because there's a lot of people who are going through similar things. It's personal enough where I'm telling my story, but it's also general where other people can relate to it and interpret it and their struggles.
Well, it's amazing. You've been through so much just at such a young age. But I think it's so important that you're using that for good. Like, you're using that not to be like cold or angry, but instead to form communities, send a message and share a message, and make some like positive pieces out of it.
Definitely. So I feel like it'd be super easy for me just to make excuses, and like with everything, I'm not the type of person who can stay in bed or just accept things for what they are. So I don't know, I really want to challenge people by challenging myself, like seeing all the things that I'm going through and pushing myself. I hope that just gets that person who really knows what they want to do but doesn't have it in them to maybe do it, to get them and be like, you know what, if someone else can, I can do this too.
Well, it's inspiring to us. Absolutely.
Y'all are really inspiring.
Well, hey, it's nice to meet you today.
It's nice to meet you too.
And I'm looking forward. We're writing tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm super stoked. I just met you. I was like, hey.
Oh, hey, by the way,
I like your stuff.
It's like as we're talking, I get an email from your manager. Like, oh, let's do a session. I'm like, yeah, down. Let's do it.
Cool.
But thank you.
Thank y'all so much.
Of course. Thanks for coming on.
Sick.
Look at me now. Made it through the rain. All of my doubts, they fall with the chains. I'm running through the barricades. I'm running through the barricades. Knock 'em down.
We would like to thank Jägermeister and Isotope for their early support of Talking Lion.